Welcome to Bay State Golf. I'm Sean Melia. I'm trying to play every golf course in the state of Massachusetts. Public, private, 9-hole, 18 holes, whatever it is, I want to play it. I've played 144 out of about 350 courses in the state up to this date. And today I'm going to tell you about 9 golf courses I played in March and April. Some are in Mass and some I played at Hilton Head on a trip down there with the Golf Trip guys. But I'm going to talk about each of them kind of quickly, give you a sense of what they were like, what I liked, what I didn't like, and a favorite hole. Before we get to those 9 golf courses, just a quick request to subscribe to this channel if you're looking for golf stuff that maybe you don't find in other places. I try to post every week and share out lists of golf courses and just value and splurges and trips and whatever else I can think of. If you have an idea for a video, drop it in the comments. I'm always looking for new ideas and ways to just share what I've learned and what I've found out over the course of 5 years of this quest. And then secondly, I have a newsletter that goes out every Friday. I just compile a bunch of stuff that I've done over the course of the week, links, and I also collect results from competitive golf, professional, amateur, college, and I'm trying to be a little source of that information as well, as it doesn't really exist just for Massachusetts golfers. So you can go check that out as well. That's at baystategolf.beehive.com. And if you want to support my work, you can become a premium member and get my reviews early, get bonus content, get bonus videos over the course of the year. And when you support Bay State Golf, you help me get out to see different golf courses, pay for some gas, maybe pay for some greens fees. I do pay for all of my golf. I don't take comps from golf courses. I think it's important to be able to give real, legitimate reviews of these courses and go hard on ones that don't quite measure up and give you places to go play that might be of great value. Let's get to the 9 golf courses I played in March and April of 2025. The first course I played in 2025 anywhere on the planet was Sandy Burr in early March on a relatively warm day. Sandy Burr is in Wayland. It's a Donald Ross design. Not a lot of public Donald Rosses around the area, so it's always a treat to go and play Sandy Burr. For me, the thing that I really love about Sandy Burr are the green sites, the green complexes. They're pretty small, they're challenging. They've got some unique little features to them. I think about holes like 5, long par 3, with just some little humps and shoulders and edges that you have to navigate to try to make par on a pretty hard hole. So just like those little Donald Ross features that just still stand out, and they don't have the greens running super fast at Sandy Burr, so you can still kind of appreciate some of the slopes without kind of getting crushed by rolling off false fronts everywhere or being long and having to kind of really manage a 2-putt. You can still get yourself into some serious trouble there, but it's not as severe as some places or private golf courses. So green complexes there are great. It's an easy walk. It's pretty flat, walkable land, quick trips from greens to tees. The part of the golf course that kind of fails for me is stretch of 6, 7, and 8. Play can be pretty slow at Sandy Burr. You start with 2 par 5s, so that can slow up play a little bit. People waiting to maybe hit into the first and second green from maybe a little bit farther away than they can get there, but it's the beginning of the round, so that can slow things up a little bit. 6 is a tough par 4. It's the second one on the entire golf course, just the way the routing works. And you end up with a shot over marsh to get to the green. You typically are staying away from the marsh on the right side off the tee, so you're in the rough on the left, unless you hit a really good tee shot. It's just a tricky hole that I don't really love, as far as just the challenge isn't, fair isn't the right word, but it just feels like a hole that could be a little bit better. They could maybe even mow some of the fairway farther left just to give people a bigger landing zone and a better lie if they do want to play out a little bit to the left. There's a tree over there, so there's still some framing of the hole, but that hole doesn't I don't really love. 7 is always wet. Always. And it sits right in the marsh. When I played it in March, there was still some snow on the ground, and that area in particular was pretty messy. But it never really seems to dry out every time I've played there. And that's a comment that I get from people even just on Instagram when they go play it or when they see that I post about it. That's always a complaint. And then 8 is just kind of a mundane hole that I don't really love, but it gets you to 9. 9's a good hole, and then the back 9 I think is pretty strong. So 6, 7, 8, the weakest part of the stretch of the golf course. It's fine that there are 3 in a row. It could be 3 holes that are spread out and kind of just you play 3 bad holes throughout the 18. But when they're all 3 combined and you're playing them all in a row, maybe it makes it a little bit better. My favorite hole on the golf course is the 421-yard par 4 fourth. It's the first par 4 on the golf course, and the drive is kind of semi-blind. The approach shot is to a pretty big green, got some slope back to front, got a little bit of a false front. It's perched up high. You're typically going to have to hit a mid-iron into it, and it's a pretty good, strong par 4. And it's, like I said, it's the first one on the golf course with 2 par 5s on the first and second, and the third hole being a short par 3. So the first 4-shotter, and I like that hole. I think it's very good. It's a good test, and you'll definitely have a sense of where your game is as you walk off that 4th green and go play another par 3, the 5th, which is a long, tough hole as well. Second course I played at the end of March on a frigid day. I think I learned what my golf threshold was as far as cold and wind when I played Miacomet on Nantucket. I went out there for 4 days with my wife. We got an Airbnb. The whole island is just deserted at this time of year. It was late March, and we kind of loved it, being people who live in the city, just to be in a quiet area. Just hung out in our house, got some takeout. I played golf one day because I had Noah, who runs Golfers Anonymous. You should go check him out. He got 2 buddies, and they took a ferry over on Sunday and just did a day trip, and I joined them for it. I picked them up at the ferry, and we went and played Miacomet. Miacomet is just overall really good, and this time of year, you can play it for $150 in the month of May. I paid $70 because that's their winter rate all the way up until May, and once you get into the prime part of the season, it's a $255 round, which is pretty expensive when you consider maybe getting from the mainland on a ferry to the golf course. If you're not staying there, if you're not on Nantucket for a couple days, it is a good chunk of money, and then you toss in a ferry fee and maybe a taxi fee to get to the golf course and all that stuff. It can get pretty pricey. But if you're watching this before May, or if you're watching this in the middle of summer and you realize that's not possible, September has another shoulder season, and then the winter rate kind of kicks in November. The weather in Nantucket is always a little bit, not better, but there's less snow. You can get out there and it's pretty playable. The day we played, there were a bunch of locals who were out there. You could go for a 9-hole walk, and they have a great winter rate for locals. I think it's like $500 for the entire winter if you want a membership. So the place just kind of holds up. Conditions are good. It hosted a US Mid-Am in 2021. I caddied in that, so I got to see it at like the peak conditions. The bunkering is cool. The greens are good. The soil is good. The golf is hard. The wind makes it tough. And just overall, Miacomet is just a really good golf course. And if you can get it at this $150 or even $70 deal, totally worth it. $255 starts to get pricey for really anybody, especially if you have to get to Nantucket to play it. The bad part, distracting part for me about Miacomet is some of the routing. Long walk from 2 to 3, awkward walk from 6 to 7, another awkward walk from 15 to 16. You're walking backwards a little bit, and then from 16 to 17, you almost walk halfway back down 16 to get to 17T. So some awkward walks. And even from 9 to 10 is a very long walk. You walk past the clubhouse. If you're a rider, this probably doesn't impact you as much, but it does add a little bit of time to the round even as you're playing. So for me, it's not so much the quality of the golf course that is the distraction or the bad, quote unquote. It's more just the routing and how kind of challenging the walk is. As far as the walk being hard, it's a pretty easy, straightforward walk. It's relatively flat golf course, so you're not climbing a lot of hills. But Miacomet, if you can get out there and take advantage of some sort of shoulder or off-season rate, highly, highly recommend doing that and taking advantage of it. So then after that trip to Nantucket, I went to Hilton Head and I joined the golf trip guys. They had a group of 16 golfers who all went down and played 4 rounds of golf. 3 of them at the 3 Palmetto Dunes courses, which I'll talk about in a sec. But we had a bonus round, and it was our first round of the trip. We got in on a Thursday, we dropped our stuff off, we hopped back in the car and went to Bluffton, South Carolina, and played Old South Links. No Laying Up actually played here during one of their Strapped episodes when they did Strapped South Carolina. And it was a charming little golf course, kind of in low country. You got your Spanish moss, you've got some areas where you're playing in the trees, and then you've got areas that you're playing more open, and then there's some water, as there tends to be down in that part of the state, in that part of the country with regards to the golf. Not a lot of development or houses you're playing around. That comes later at Palmetto Dunes. But I found the golf course, as far as the holes in the trees and then the holes out of the trees, like a nice push and pull, and just a pretty good like everyday golf course. Like you could play there every day. It's a good spot. It seemed like there were we were there on a Thursday, a lot of retirees and people who like to be out there, and not a lot of houses on the property either, but a pretty good golf course. The main issue with Old South Links is holes 7 and 16, which are very target golf. They serve a specific purpose because they get you out to the marsh and some 2 good par 3s that you play in a lovely setting, the 8th hole and the 17th hole, before you head back towards the clubhouse for the 9th and the 18th. But those 2 holes are not great. They're very target golf. You're hitting a 4-iron over marsh. It's never great when the tee box has, drop zone is on the other side of the marsh just to keep players moving. So that part isn't great. I think my favorite hole out there was the 17th. We played the back 9 first. So this was our 8th hole, but definitely if you're playing the course, the kind of the normal routing, it is a really great crescendo to the round. You play 16 to get out to 17. It's a par 3. It's about 173 yards, exactly 173 yards from the tip. So it's a mid to long iron if you're playing all the way back, and you're hitting over the marsh. The green is set as a peninsula in the marsh. Just really nice area to play golf and hit a golf shot before heading back for home and the 18th hole. So 17th hole, very cool. The other one, the 8th hole, is another nice par 3. So they get you out to the marsh for the second to last hole on each side of the golf course before heading back to the clubhouse. The next morning we played 36 holes. We started at the Palmetto Dunes Fazio course. I was kind of unenthusiastic about playing a George Fazio. I've written about him. I sometimes just don't really love his golf courses. This Fazio was pretty good, and I left kind of feeling like I enjoyed the round a lot more than I expected to. It is weaving through housing complexes, as a lot of these Palmetto Dunes and kind of Hilton Head golf courses do. It was more open than I thought it was going to be. It was the only walkable golf course, I would say, of the 3 Palmetto Dunes golf courses. Greens to tees, pretty short walks, a couple long ones, but for the most part, if you had to walk one of these 3, Fazio would be the one that you could walk. The other 2, Arthur Hills and the Jones, are a little bit more spread out. The thing that is a little bit distracting about the Fazio course, and I think this kind of just goes with golf down in this part of the country, or is just the development around the golf course. And it just becomes a lot at some points. You are definitely playing in people's backyards. Being from Massachusetts, you think you understand what golf courses being developed for housing means until you go to places like Hilton Head or Florida or just other areas, Arizona, where you really are hitting golf shots and you might be cutting a corner over someone's yard, or someone might be out blowing with a leaf blower, blowing their yard. so those little things are a bit of a distraction. But overall, I thought the Fazio course was a pretty good test, and for the most part, I enjoyed the round. It's just that little bit of like, man, I am definitely in someone's backyard right now, or we're weaving through an area that just doesn't really feel like it should be a golf course. But that's more of a me thing. Some people really like that kind of golf, and if you like that kind of golf, then this is the place for you to go and play. My favorite hole on the Fazio was the 12th hole. It was a 387-yard hole from the tips. We did not play the tips. We played the whites all weekend. Let's get moving. Let's play some good golf and have some fun. We had 25 handicaps on this trip. We had 3 handicaps on this trip. So we just wanted to kind of keep it fair, and we were playing a lot of golf. So I did not play it from that distance, but the distance we played it from, there were some cool options off the tee. There's a bunch of bunkering that made the visually a little bit tricky, where you weren't quite sure what the proper line was. One of the few holes that I felt like, man, I'd love to go back to the tee box right now and play it again, because I did not play it the way I feel like I should have. So the 12th hole, really cool, big green, double green with the 16th hole as well, which I always kind of like when holes are double greens, and just and kind of in the center of this little bit of the property on the back nine, that once again, it felt more like you were on a golf course than you were in a development, which I also liked about it. So that was a good hole, the 12th at Fazio. Fazio overall, I liked it. Arthur Hills, the afternoon round. We played a 2-man scramble. Palmetto Dunes has these 3 golf courses. Arthur Hills, not a guy I knew a lot about, built a lot of golf courses kind of in the Michigan area, Midwest area, and also in the Southeast, but didn't really make his way up to New England and Massachusetts to build golf courses. So this was my introduction to him. Not a great introduction. I think for me, there was some cool kind of quirkiness about the golf course. The first hole has this neat little kind of dune that blocks your view of the green. So you're hitting a wedge, short iron to this green. You can't really see the flag. You can't really see the putting surface. I liked that. I thought that was a neat little feature of the golf course. And then there's the other thing that is nice about it is there's this hole on the front, and then another hole in the back that features a little bit this lighthouse. I wish they would feature it a little bit more, but it's in like this inland rear guard lighthouse that is just a beautiful feature to have anywhere, and to have it behind a green was kind of neat. The back nine had some of the worst holes I think I have played in a very long time, and 12 and 17 being the 2 main ones. 12 was a super narrow par 4 with water all the way down the right. Another hole with a drop area at the fairway, because if you didn't hit the fairway, you could sit there all day on that tee box trying to hit the fairway with a 3-wood, with a hybrid. And then you're hitting like a mid to long iron, possibly into a green that is also right on the edge of the water. Just a really bizarre hole. We were playing a 2-man scramble, so there was a little bit of relief there. My partner hit a good shot. I did not. So just not a great hole. And then 17 is bonkers. I could not believe standing on the tee box where we were going and what we were trying to do. I guess there's a story that Tiger Woods played this golf course as a kid and tried to drive this green over some houses, could not do it. Tried a couple times, and on the 3rd try he did. Who knows what happened to the other 2 balls? They might have broken windows. But a station to station, like a long iron, and then a mid to short iron into a green. But not a lot of green grass on that hole, just a lot of water, and just not a great hole. And that's kind of, for me, the back nine got really kind of tight and felt like it just didn't really have any sort of continuity, and those 2 holes especially were really bad. My favorite hole at Arthur Hills was the 18th, just a pretty long par 5, 516 yards from the tips. I thought the green here was neat. It was kind of diagonal and had a big mound in front of it, so it was protecting it, but you could also kind of use some of the land to get your ball to run up onto the green at certain times of the year. And I got to sit and watch all the other groups. We were the first group off, or one of the first groups off in that scramble, and I got to watch some other groups come in and try to play that hole as 2-person scrambles, and it was actually kind of interesting to watch people try to figure out like where the flag was from the fairway on their third shot, thinking they hit a good shot and it just came up short. Some people hit some very good shots coming in there. My partner reached the green in 2, hit a shot of the week with his 5-wood, I believe. Shout out Mike for that shot. And just a kind of probably the best finishing hole of the courses we played. So that was a bright spot. Good job, Arthur Hill, on that little bit. But overall, did not love Arthur Hills. It was probably my least favorite course of those 4 that we played. Finally, we played the Palmetto Jones course. Holes 8 through 17 were the highlight, maybe of the whole trip, just as far as the golf that we got to play there. 10 is up. You're kind of close to the ocean. You can't really see the ocean because of the dunes. There's a bar off to the right that some people just kind of sneak off and grab a beer. It is not owned by the golf course. They just have a cool bar set up on the beach there. And just so that little stretch was very, very good. The bad for me, or the thing that I didn't love, was getting to hole 8. You're playing a few holes that just run along a busy road along the left. And, you got houses down the right. So you're feeling like you're very much kind of in Hilton Head in a busy area. But once you drive to the 9th tee box, hit that ninth tee shot, you're out in this very different kind of piece of the property. It's open. There's like big landscape. There's big bunkers, some dunes, probably some ground move to make those dunes. But overall, that was kind of the highlight. And my favorite hole, I hate saying that my favorite hole is kind of the hole that would be the signature hole of a golf course, because that feels like a cop-out. But the 10th hole is a par 5. They have back-to-back par 5s, 9 and 10. 10 is just is a cool par 5. You get to hit driver kind of however hard you want to. I hit it on the 11th fairway and laid up short of the green and hit a wedge on. The green is well bunkered and you're hitting uphill to it. It's kind of, you're blind to the surface of the green as you're trying to get up there. So a pretty good golf course, a pretty good golf hole that stood out to me, and I liked it, and it's one that I can kind of still picture in my mind's eye. So that caps off the Hilton Head trip. 4 golf courses in 3 days, a lot of golf. Got back here and didn't really play much golf. Went out to Holyoke Country Club in the kind of towards the end of April. 9-hole golf course in Holyoke, Mass. Had never played here. This is course 143 on my quest to play every course in Massachusetts. So first one of 2025 that I got to check off the list. What a kind of charming little 9-hole neighborhood golf course that had one of the most bizarre pro shops I have ever seen and probably will ever see. It was completely bare. And I'll add some, I can't even explain it. I'll just put some pictures over and video over this to give you a sense of what it looked like. No idea what the deal is, but very bizarre. Not a great introduction to a golf course as a new person. Doesn't look like they put much effort into it at all. But as far as the golf course, I just love its simplicity. It has some potential. Who knows if it will ever reach that potential? Who knows if it will be open in 5 years' time? It just has that kind of feel to it too. And I liked the greens could be pretty severe if they were at all running at like if they wanted to get them fast. There's probably some days or weeks where they are pretty tough to putt. A lot of 2-tier greens. The second green is pretty wild. The 9th green has this crazy hump. I got on the wrong side of it. I 3-putted. That green is very, very tough. But I did like the greens overall. Wish they were a little bit better shape, but it was pretty good. As far as the kind of bad, again, just some of the walks, I got actually lost twice or had to ask people where the next tee box was. I walked off the 3rd hole and the 4th green was pretty close to the 3rd green. So I assumed it was just gonna be a short par 3. I had to walk, I actually got a ride from the super, who was just kind of driving around and noticed I was lost, and he gave me a ride back to the 4th tee box. It's a short par 4, but it's about 150 yard walk back to that tee box. So that wasn't great. And then to get from 4 to 5, you've got to walk around the clubhouse, but there's tee boxes on 2 sides of the clubhouse. So if you don't really know where you're going, no signage, no way to just help people get around the golf course, which isn't great. My favorite hole out there was the 8th hole, which is a par 3, the only par 3 on the course. So it's got 1 par 3, 1 par 5, and 7 par 4s. It's like a plateau to plateau, 120-yard hole, but just kind of a cool hole that runs in the perpendicular direction of a lot of the holes, especially on that 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 little patch of land where holes are running parallel to each other. So I like that kind of shift in perspective as you're playing, and just a kind of a fun little shot to hit that was hard enough, and a little bunker protecting. If you miss left, you could end up falling down into some woods, and just a good little hole there. So a Holyoke Country Club, not worth a 2-hour drive or hour and a half drive, hour 45-minute drive like I did, just to play those 9 holes. But if you're in the area, it's a good little neighborhood golf course that I wish we had more of around. Unicorn comes to mind as another one that just is, you can go play some golf, and it's an easy walk. And once you know where you're going, and you get to hit some different golf shots. I hit driver, I hit 3-wood, I hit 4-iron off a tee, hit some different irons into greens. So overall, I wish this place sticks around, and I hope it sticks around because it does have some potential. And if it doesn't even reach that potential, it's just a good place to go and play golf. After playing Holyoke Country Club, I hopped in the car. I drove about maybe 15, 20 minutes to Southampton Country Club, paid cash only at the bar. Kind of love those places. John F. Parker had that vibe. Lakeville Country Club has that vibe. You got mass lottery pencils at some of these places, and just kind of an introduction to the golf course. Southampton Country Club is another one. It was $29 to walk on a Wednesday, which is great value. I played at 11:30 in the morning. When I got off the golf course at 3:30, it was packed with people. I don't know if they must have had like a Wednesday afternoon league, but it was busy, and there were plenty of people out there playing. Even when I was just there in the morning, it was busy enough. I think the thing that I liked about Southampton Country Club, huge greens. They were in pretty good shape. They were interesting. They were fun to hit approach shots into, which I always like. You can hit a bunch of greens, but if you don't have your distance control right, or you're just a little bit off right to left, you can hit a green, but you can have a really long putt, and maybe across some ridges or across some slopes. And I definitely had that happen to me a few times. So thought the greens and that kind of piece of the game, and working backwards from those greens was interesting. Definitely as the round got on, I started to have to really focus a little bit more on like, what club am I going to hit that will get pin high, because I don't want another long putt and another potential 3-putt, which I had a few of. And then the theme here, I guess, this week on this video and these first couple months is it's another golf course that just had a couple long walks between holes. The 4th hole to the 5th hole, you actually walk across 3 other holes and to the other edge of the property, to get to the 5th hole. Not a lot of signage. Another place I had to ask someone like where the 5th tee was, because you walk through the woods and you get out to this area where the 16th hole is to your right, the 7th hole is to your left, the 6th green is right in front of you, and you think like one of these places has to be where I'm going next, and it's not, and you have to keep walking to get to the 5th hole. And then a lot of parallel holes, especially that 5, 6, 7, 8 area. They're just all parallel. You go down and up, and they're extremely narrow because there's just a lot of trees. And playing in April, they're not super challenging or distracting because they don't have leaves on them yet. But I could imagine in the middle of the summer when they're in full bloom and we've got a lot of leaves on the trees, that it definitely makes the golf course harder and in a way that isn't great. My favorite hole at Southampton was the 3rd hole. I found 1, 2, 3 actually like a really nice introduction to the golf course. And 3 was the capper because it's a good, long, tough par 4. It's 430 yards. You're hitting, it's kind of a snake shape to it. So you can see the green out there, but you kind of got to work your ball a little bit off the tee if you're playing from the back tees. And a huge green, back to front slope. I came up just short and had to kind of hit a chip shot up with an 8-iron and thought I hit it way too hard, and the slope and kind of the speed of the greens too grabbed it for me, and I was able to make a par and get out of there. But that little opening stretch overall is pretty good. I liked 4 as well, like 1, 2, 3, 4, pretty good holes. 2 par 3s in there, 2 and 4, and 2 par 4s in 1 and 3. So for $29 to walk, Southampton Country Club, if you again live out in that area, I wouldn't encourage people to drive a long way, but if you've got a 20, 25, 30-minute drive to get to Southampton Country Club, and you are looking to pay $30 on a weekday to play 18 holes cash, it's a pretty good deal. And it kind of just made me once again realize, like, I got to get out to Western Mass more. I was glad I did. I have more plans to go out there again, but just a little bit more value out there. You get a little bit more bang for your buck. Price per hole is far better, even though it took me an hour and a half to 2 hours to get home afterwards. Sometimes that's the price you have to pay for living in Boston. And the 9th golf course I've played so far this year was Shaker Hills in Harvard, Mass. It is a course I played as a kid. It's a course I checked off as the second course on my quest back in 2020. I went back and played it in 2023 because I was interested in just seeing what it looked like after hearing about some work and hearing about some additions they had done to the golf course. And it was pretty striking, the difference. And then going back again this week, 2 years later, this is the 3rd time now I've played it in 5 years, and seeing more of the changes, it's pretty staggering, the work that they've done. Looking at some old pictures, looking at the new pictures, just trees have been removed, spaces have been opened up. It's a hard golf course and you have to drive it pretty straight, but it feels like the premium on that has been reduced a little bit, and you can kind of play it. There's a little more space to play. There's more places to hit your tee shots if you're a little bit wild off the tee. I remember it being pretty penal. If you ended up in among the trees, it's you're kind of screwed, and that's less the sense I got this time. I hit a couple wayward shots. I paid the price. I had to chip out, but I could have also had my ball go a foot farther to the right and had a look at a green and had a way of advancing the ball farther. So a little bit of bad luck, but before you would kind of be completely stymied, and you knew if you were in the woods that you were not going to really have a chance. So it's nice to have a chance at finding your golf ball, advancing your golf ball, and kind of moving on with the round. I played with 2 friends, Colin and Paul, who are playing in the Mass 4 ball in a couple weeks at Shaker Hills. So they wanted to see it from the tips, and it's a really good challenge from back there. And I think for me, the bad or the distracting part of Shaker Hills is, and this is a double-edged sword here, there are a bunch of kind of novelty opportunities, options out on the golf course. There's a rooftop shot on the 6th to the 13th. I take advantage of both of them. I think they're kind of fun. I think they're kind of quirky. You don't have to do them. Paul and Colin joined me for the 6th hole. Then the 13th, they were like, we want to play this from the grass because that's probably where we're going to have to play the hole when we are out here for the Mass 4 ball. There's an outlook bar. So after you finish your round, you can drive out like 4 minutes in these big 4-seater carts that go a little bit faster than a normal cart. You can get up there, they play music, they're super fancy, and you can grab a beer at the drive-through turn shack that they have after you play the 5th hole and the 12th hole. It's right there, so you can grab a beer. That's kind of another little novelty item. If you like those things, then Shaker Hills is for you. If they kind of rub you the wrong way, then Shaker Hills might not be for you. It's an expensive round of golf, and they have to come up with some ways to get people to want to come back. They have to find some ways to just stand out from the crowd of golf courses that now exist in Massachusetts that are competing for a lot of golfers. And this is how Shaker Hills has chosen to do it, and that is completely fine. And I think for me, it feels a little bit salesy. It feels a little bit more just, desperate's not the right word, but it feels like they're pushing the limit of kind of what feels like you're at a golf course and what feels like you're kind of being sold some stuff, and just trying to jazz up the experience when some people just want to be able to show up and play golf. But you can do that. So it's kind of this little tension that I feel when I go to Shaker Hills, because it's expensive. I paid $95 to walk. They have dynamic pricing. You can't get a price without a cart included. So I just, you got to bite the bullet and pay the cart fee if you want to walk. I will sometimes do that. I'm not complaining about that. It's just kind of part of the deal. If you want to play Shaker Hills on a weekend, the price can get as high, I saw, as $177 this coming weekend. This coming weekend is May 3rd, 4th. So you can pay that much. That's $3 less than Taconic. That's way up there as one of the most expensive rounds of golf you can play in the state. Miacomet and Farm Neck are on islands, and they cost more. Granite Links is $165. I think Pine Hills is kind of around that. So Shaker Hills is pushing that edge of, expensive golf in Massachusetts. So I think they feel like they have to find some ways to make people want to come back and play it again or make it worth their while. So that's where those little extra kind of perks, novelty items come into play. That's for me like the thing I'm still trying to figure out. And some people might think I'm an idiot for not liking those things. And it's not that I don't like them. I'm just trying to figure out what the end game is for Shaker Hills, and where they stop, right? Like where does that piece stop? Because they're doing some good work with the golf course. They've opened it up, like I said, but sometimes just walking around and seeing signs up for an app and signs up for kind of different deals that they do over the summer, it kind of starts to feel a little bit uncomfortable in some respects. My favorite hole out there is the 4th, and it's kind of sandwiched in the middle of the 3rd and the 5th, which are two very hard holes. The 3rd is a long par 3 downhill guarded by water. The 5th is a monstrous par 5 that goes slowly uphill. They even have a par 6 tee box. Again, another kind of novelty item that they're testing out. But the 4th is a good long hole, but you can hit a bomb of a drive because it does go downhill. You can kind of catch a speed slot. It was the hole this year I was kind of bummed I hit a bad tee shot on and the 4th and the 5th I hit 2 bad tee shots and ended up in the trees and having to just kind of play over and through them and trying to get back out, and made bogeys on both. But the 4th, usually when you hit a good tee shot, it's fulfilling. You have kind of a tough downhill iron shot into a big green that has some cool undulations and a bunch of short grass around it. I like the setting back there in that hole. So the 4th hole is definitely my favorite hole of the bunch. So Shaker Hills, as you can tell, it's kind of a place that I have a kind of funny feeling about, just as far as like, do you push people to go play it for that much? Is it worth going and playing it? To walk or ride for $95 on a weekday? Maybe. I don't know if $177 on a weekend is a price that I would encourage people to go and play Shaker Hills for. It feels really, really high. Whereas I would encourage everybody to go play Taconic for $180 any day of the week. Go play Taconic. It's outstanding. It's a long drive out to Williamstown, and it's awesome. I would not feel comfortable telling you to go play Shaker Hills for $177. Maybe check their site, play the dynamic game as far as trying to find a price that works for you. Maybe the weather doesn't look great and you can get one out, but I've talked a lot about Shaker Hills. I know it's just it's an interesting place. I think it's one of those places that you could kind of dive deep into what they're doing and the business model and how they're doing it, and maybe someday I will. I've spent a bunch of time today talking about it. Those are the 10 courses I've played. Where did you play early spring this year? Please drop in the comments, and also any ideas you have for other videos, always want them. Always would love some ideas to help me get through writer's block as I try to create some new videos for all of you. And once again, thank you for subscribing. Go check out my newsletter, baystategolf.beehive.com. Free newsletter Friday, and you get everything I do all in one place. And if you want to subscribe and become a paid member, you get some extra bonus content and the warm, fuzzy feeling of helping me pay for the gas that I'm spending while sitting on 93 trying to get home on a Wednesday. Have a great week, everybody. Hit 'em straight. We'll see you next week.